Hi, I'm Amy Leverton from Denim Dudes, and I'm here today with the wonderful Miles Johnson, who is going to talk to me about transparency in our denim industry. Hi, Miles.
Hey Amy, how you doing?
Owen, yeah, good to see you. Good to see you.
Yeah,
A load of us in the industry know you as the tallest man at Kingpins.
I
Um,
know.
for
Seems
those,
with the top of all the booths.
yeah, exactly. We just see you. We just see you cruising around.
Lighting.
But for those who don't know you, do you want to tell us a little bit about you and your background?
Yeah, so I'm a designer, but I've been fortunate enough to some great design teams at Levi's and as well. And I'm very, very passionate about sustainability. And because I'm now back in the UK working with denim again, um, I, I feel this great responsibility to talk as much as possible about ways that we can all work together and do things better.
Yeah, got you. That's awesome. And now you are, I mean, you've worked at large corporations and I'm sure smaller companies as well. You're now, yeah, you consult, right, for a couple of, variety of
Yeah,
different companies.
different brands, mills, laundries. There's so many different aspects to the denim world that I'm very passionate about it. So if I can be useful in any of those platforms, and I'm throwing myself into projects and working on some sustainable collections and doing capsules and things like that, all quite fast, and it's good to work on.
And also, I feel like you're similar to me insofar as working with different people, it makes you quite unbiased and able to talk about certain elements of the industry, whereas someone that may be locked into a large brand wouldn't feel as able to express their true feelings or things
Yeah,
that
it's true.
covered, along the way.
Yeah, it's certainly true. And I think, working on different aspects of it, you get to see things that you can share with other companies. And I think that's really important. You don't just kind of get behind one one part of a business and then not be that interested in what else is going on behind the curtain. So I'm
Exactly.
I'm, I'm opening the curtain.
Yes, I love it. You're revealing all. So, with that in mind, obviously, transparency is something that you're particularly focused on. When it comes to sustainability, why does the word transparency, or why does the theory of transparency appeal to you, and why do you think it should be the most important thing that we're talking about today?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of talk about it at the moment. I mean, under the very big subject of sustainability, transparency is one of those things that we can all do to when we find solutions to problems. Because a lot of the time when you're designing, you are like solving your way through developing a product. If you have found a way to do it better, and by better I mean that could mean anything within the field of sustainability. If you've got something that you could share and make the world a better place, then needs, and I hope there's going to be more future. It's what will make the difference. But keeping information, treating it like intellectual property, and not sharing it is not going to help. So what I'm really hoping for, which is why I'm talking to you today, is that people can start to collaborate and communicate to one another more and share the secrets or the previous secrets. It's just sharing the knowledge, because then I think we can really take an industry which has always been considered to be quite a dirty, filthy process in cotton and denim manufacturing, and turn that around and make it a really good thing. So that's what I'm all really about at the moment.
Yeah, I got you. And then I guess, it's interesting hearing you talk about that's what transparency means to you. There's a lot of companies out there. I don't know if we're meant to name names or if we don't or we do, but the concept of radical transparency. I think we can all think who that is, who coined that phrase. And I think there is a certain amount of this transparency that's kind of like brand to consumer, right? That's like, this is what we're doing, this is where we're making, etc., etc. Really, the transparency you're talking about actually is breaking down the barriers of competitiveness in a way, right? It's kind of like, like a sustainability shouldn't be about getting an edge on another company, is what you're really saying.
No, we're not in competition to be the most sustainable brand against another brand. We're all doing this to save the planet. So when I'm talking about transparency, I'm talking about revealing every aspect of what you do and how you do it. So if you're not comfortable with that, you're not really a transparent company. If you want to be a transparent company, you need to embrace this whole concept of I'm prepared to let everybody see what I do and how I do it. And I think we're looking at the moment at ways that we can start to really translate that. And at the moment it's quite wordy, and I think there's so many steps and stages to creating denim that it gets really complicated for a lot of people. So I hope that in the future we start to break this down into simple pictorial kind of steps and stages to the finished product. But I think going beyond that, I think we also have to start taking massive responsibility in the whole life cycle of the product and start thinking in circularity about how to design, create, and also perhaps take responsibility for that garment at the end of its life.
Yeah.
And a lot more of compostable, repulping, repurposing, recycling, all of that. But if we can start to invest in that end of it as well, then we're kind of really picking up our trash, and this whole thing about waste can just be organised and managed.
Yeah, and a thing of the past. Everything you've just said is interesting though, because it's also talking about involving the consumer in the conversation as well, and educating the consumer. One, like you say, kind of making the process of making jeans less complex and easier to understand. Sometimes to the designer, some designers still don't really educate themselves exactly on the process of making jeans, which is crazy. But mostly, again, it's just that consumer. It's a lot. It's a complex mess. Supply chain. It's a lot for people to understand, and I think more and more brands are showing that.
They are.
Talking about communicating, but also communicating the life cycle of a garment to a consumer. So, what part do you think? Say there's brands watching, but there's also mills and laundries and manufacturers. What part do they have to play in this? I mean, it's really tricky because it's going to consumer, but we need to be more transparent throughout the supply chain to the consumer.
Yeah, I suppose in all of our fields, we all just think, oh, that's self-explanatory. If I design a product, I am effectively doing a design and it goes off to a factory and it gets made. But I think now our responsibility is to really take it all apart and just know where everything comes from and show that and how it's all put together. Because you're right, there are so many people that work in the industry that only know just a little bit of it and don't really know where everything comes from. And we're all guilty of that. I mean, the amount of times in the past I just bought a fabric, and then when someone says, so tell us a story about this product, I'll start with, well, I bought the denim from this mill, and that was the starting point. But now that's not enough. You see, the story back then used to be, oh, we designed this collection based on like 1950s rock and roll, whatever. And now it's like the story of this product is that the cotton was grown here in this way and farmed by these people. We can see how it's done, where it all came from, everything, and have some visibility on how much things are kind of like moving around the world as well. Obviously, the ideal thing is that everything's literally on your doorstep, but where does that ever happen? I mean, I would love
That's
to.
an amazing point. Like, you know, I feel like 5 years ago, it's like everyone was going, yeah, it's all about storytelling. And I feel like that was, you know, part and parcel with the sort of heritage trend where everyone was like, made in America and all of this stuff. And it was really talking about, like you say, brand stories. But yeah, like now what's lovely, like you say, is it's actually tracing it back. And the story of a product or of a brand is, yeah, about the supply chain and about where everything comes from. That's really nice.
Well, at least it's sort of, that's a big part of it. And then it doesn't mean to say you can't sort of like throw your concept in for your look and your fit and all of those things as well. You still want to have some fun with it, but there has to be more content. And I think there's been a lot of people thinking, oh, the consumer's not ready for all this information, but they really need to know absolutely every single detail. But the thing is, that's not really the point. The point is that the information should be there. And as responsible companies, we own people in this industry, we need to really show that we are not hiding anything and that we're really sort of proud of what we do. And also, the other thing as well is it's always really good to sort of say where you struggle and where something might not be possible, but that you've got plans and you've got a strategy for how you want to change things over time, because really big companies would really struggle to suddenly overnight be a sustainable company. Exactly. I get that.
Yeah.
But you know, if you had 5, 10, 15-year strategies on, but we're going to turn this around and we're going to make some commitments for the future, and this is how we're going to do it, and you keep people informed that way through your website, through your product, and through, you know, your labeling, all your forms of communication. But there's just so many layers to it.
Yeah, I think I mean, you know, I think the idea of this brand that I'm always banging on about, Asket, where they, you know, they have a label where they say where everything is from, and it's not good news, and it is like, well, the thread is from this place and the buttons are from this place, etc., etc. So it looks bad, but it's, to me, that's what, you know, real transparency is about. You know, I think you said this to me recently, that you know, it doesn't have to be good news. And actually, if you're a company who's being truly honest, there's no, you know, except for maybe a tiny little brand who's making, you know, jeans from upcycling and they're doing one at a time. Unless it's that, then pretty much every company is going to have some bad news to report. And if they're not being open about their bad news as well as good news, then in a way they are not being honest, you know?
Yeah. But you know, but we've changed so much, haven't we? If you look at like what's happened the last 10 years, and people are really grasping the concept of sustainability, and they know that everyone knows that they have to do their bit now.
Yes.
But there's been a lot of interpretations of sustainability to different people, so it might mean something different to one company to another, and that's why I go back to this whole thing of like, where's the sharing? Where's the, okay, so we do it this way, how do you do it? Oh, that's interesting, maybe we could do a bit of that too. And then you're building the story, you're building your message, you're building strength, and that's what I think we're all looking for at the moment.
Totally. Sorry, as a security alert.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And okay, so back to that, I think you know, you were talking about sharing information. I think that is, you know, really, really important amongst our industry as well. And we kind of touched a little bit on the sort of competitiveness, you know, we've just done this and we're holding on to it kind of thing, using sustainability as a sort of marketing tool. As a customer, you know, you would walk the halls of Kingpins looking for fabrics. You have done for years, whether it's a small brand for a, you know, a little project you're doing, or a big brand. What do you want to see from the mills when it comes to transparency and sustainability? Like, what's going to win you over?
Well, one of the things that has always really slightly bothered me is that when I'm looking at fabrics and at stands and presentations and things, I quite often might get shown sort of 20 fabrics, and they all have sustainable elements to them, but they are spread over 20 different fabrics. What I would love to start seeing is a few more boxes ticked of good things about the fabric in one fabric.
Yeah.
So that can push the price up, but rather than just like one is like reduced water, another reduced dye, another one is like using a percentage of hemp, another one is using biodegradable something. It's like, it's surely possible to start kind of really putting a lot of those together. So for me, when I'm looking for the most sustainable fabric I can find, and I'm really excited the effort that goes into creating the best fabric. And for me, the best fabric is not just about the way it looks, but it's about all its content. So if there's this great list of all these attributes, and then I know in the end it's compostable and it can go into the ground, or it can easily be recycled into something, then I know that I've got something I can really work with.
So we're running out of time, but I also just wanted to pick your brains slightly. You obviously worked at Patagonia, and I've seen you do a great presentation all about, you know, generally your experience as a designer and your, you know, the life cycle of your work as a designer. But the Patagonia stuff really hit home. They are a really awesome company. What are the main kind of lessons that you took away from that maybe brands who are watching this could utilize in the way?
I mean, I don't think I would think the way I think so deeply about this stuff now if I hadn't worked for Patagonia. It's an amazing company to work for. I learned so much. On as far as transparency with those guys, is that they've always been very open about what they do, and they're always looking for sustainable solutions for how to produce clothing. And if other companies want to learn from them, they have always also been very open about sharing the information. And when I was there, I was always getting calls from other companies asking how we did certain things, and you know, we would pass on that information. I mean, there was also a company to run, and it wasn't, you know, a school, but it was also very generous, I thought, and I was really inspired by the way that they would give away the information.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
really
really good to hear.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts when it comes to this whole subject, maybe we haven't covered or that you want to get across, or any final words?
Well, I think, I was thinking about that earlier. I mean, we've got some people really caring and trying to do something, and there's a lot of people still not really getting it. And while there's still people not really getting it, we don't get it. You know, to me, it's like we're either all in and we're all trying to do this and make this all better, or we're not. And we've only a limited amount of resources on the planet, and we can't just keep sucking it dry and taking. We've got to start putting things back. So we can only do that together. I don't think it's one of those things that one company is going to come and save the day. It requires us all to do it.
I mean, that's so true. It's a really, really good point. That's a great ending point, I think.
Yeah, there's a final point.
Responsibility is responsible, for sure.
Yeah, let's be responsible. Okay, Amy. Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. And stay well and stay safe.
You too.
I guess we'll see each other at some point out there.
Where?
I know. Where and when is...
You're just in my head, floating around, okay? Just look out for the head.
Exactly. I look forward to seeing the top of your head at some point soon in the future.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you. Okay. Take care of yourself.